the acquisition of Carrot.com and Carrot.com going live. He paid $600,000 for the domain name, but that's not the real story. Hey, Chris Zuiker with Media Options. We help companies to acquire their raw, unfiltered version of their brand name. Also work on some of the best domains on the planet. So check it out at MediaOptions.com. Check out my daily podcast out at ChrisZuiker.com. Now, it's tempting to say, hey, this story is about Carrot.com acquiring their brand and their domain name for $600,000. And that in and of itself is a great story. It's a great story about domain names as an asset. It's a great story about the journey of a brand. Keep it there, domains as an asset. But there's a much deeper story that I think every startup should hear and should hear. So it went like this. Trevor, I think it was Trevor. He was the CEO of Carrot. They started their business back in, I'm going to look it up here. They started the business back in 2014, and his business was to provide lead generating websites for real estate agents. But he realized that he wanted to be more than just a real estate agent. In the lead generations, he saw his company long term really scaling out, maybe becoming more broader. So he didn't want someone that would pigeonhole him in. Now we call that scaling. Okay, it's one of the 7 dimensions to a domain name, and it's the ability to scale your brand at a later date, right? Expand your brand. That's why Gusto, at some point, they were Zen Payroll, but they rebranded to Gusto because they realized that, hey, having payroll in their domain name, it made it very, very difficult for them to expand because, well, it was in their domain name, right? It was in their brand. It was who they were. So when they expanded out. Okay, so that's good. Like he saw that. I think that's great. But at the time, so kind of the epiphany that he had with his brand, he said, well, hey, this is like a customer carrot, right? We're giving them a carrot. It's like lead generation. So he made this tie into that, and that was awesome. And so he decided to call his company Carrot. Now, Carrot.com was taken, so he went with On Carrot. Now, I talk about this a lot with brands that go with try or my or use, like Useloom, and when they can't acquire the domain name because it's already taken. Now, in this case, this is also a story about, I've talked about it pretty frequently, about the startup going from the startup stage, the hustler stage, to the marketer, the CEO, realizing at first that, hey, it's okay if I don't own my brand. So we're just trying to prove this concept works. We're trying to prove that this concept is a concept that can make money. And so that's hustler mode. It's like saying, I'm just trying to survive. But at a certain point, they cross this threshold. They have this epiphany. They say, you know what? No, we have to be the only one who controls this brand. We have to create the clarity. Now, that's found in his story. So at one point, I think he may have tried to acquire it once or looked and it was taken, so he really didn't try too hard. But there's a point when he was at a conference, and he said 50%, there was a conference that they sponsored, must have been in lead generation or real estate or something, but 50% of the people came to him and said, I'm going to read it here, 50% of the people that were at the conference came up to us and said, we love On Carrot. We absolutely love On Carrot. So their domain name was On Carrot. Their brand was Carrot.com. So this is a great example of why branding is one of the 7 dimensions of how a domain name impacts your brand. 50% of the people, now that number is just probably his recollection of it. Maybe it was more, maybe it was less, but still it's a great data point. There's enough people that he said, wow, this is a problem. Now he goes on to say, even though the only branding the company had that said On Carrot was this domain name, customers were referring to the company as On Carrot instead of Carrot. This is this brand conflict that he has. And so I talk a lot about that. There's this conflict when your brand doesn't match when your domain name doesn't match your brand, it creates confusion. That is, confusion leads to issues with your email. Another comment he made earlier in this interview, and I'm just reading the notes. I haven't listened to the full interview. I did watch his YouTube announcement on Carrot.com. It's pretty cool. This is from Domain Name Wire. He did say that he just got tired of telling people, hey, like, this is my email. Like, go to oncarrot.com, not carrot.com, because we don't own that. And so over and over again, he's explaining himself, all this wasted energy, all this like confusion in their customers' minds. So probably that happens enough. His customers are saying, hey, you're really On Carrot. You're not really Carrot, because that's how I have to refer to you. That's how I have to email you. That's where I find you online. That's maybe where I find the back end of my stuff. It's On Carrot. So your brand, although you call yourself Carrot, it's really On Carrot, on carrot.com. And so this epiphany said, "Well, I really need to own this domain name. I really need to, like, this is this conflict. I'm trying to create this brand." And so at this point, he tried to reach out to the owner, and it was owned by an artist, and he had no luck with reaching out to the owner. And so he kind of put it in the back burner. But then what happened is that another company came in later on. He's looking, and he's, into his shock, he sees this other company actually acquired the domain name. They actually probably used a domain broker. He wasn't using one, and he's trying to do it on his own, and kind of hit this level and said, okay, that's like, I can't go any farther. And so this other company came and bought his domain name. Now think about that. Think about this, like this wall you hit as an entrepreneur, as a startup. If you haven't been this journey, then you wouldn't understand. But I think a lot of people listen to this Facebook and my videos, my LinkedIn videos, all these, they understand this journey that you're going on, this investment that a founder has in saying, hey, I'm going to own this. I need to own this. This is my mission, my ethos, is everything that we stand for. And so he was crushed. They were crushed that they couldn't own Carrot.com. Now, lucky for them, this company went under. So you think about this journey, right? He starts this journey. He's okay with on-call. And then he has this epiphany with his email, has this epiphany with his customers, and realizes that's really not his brand, but he has this big brand confusion that he doesn't want to be called On Carrot because it's on Carrot. And so he tries to get it. He can't find him. And then he sees another company, and this other brand gets it. And so then what happens is this brand goes under. So he's like, aha, I've got the opportunity, right? I've got this opportunity. Now we talk about the fact that it's off the market forever. We did several different videos on this. It's so easy. Like, you think you have the opportunity. In this case, he got lucky. This brand went under, and the domain appeared to be available. Now, he reached out to the people. He said, hey, I'll give you $100,000. He thought that was a crazy amount for this domain name. They said, no, like, we owe $250,000 still on the domain name. We don't own it outright. Now, another lesson, this other company did a lease option, which I think is very smart, because what it did is it limited their liability and allowed them runway to see if their idea would work or not. Now, in this case, it didn't work. And so they weren't out all of the money. And then it reverted back to the owner. So it's a great way for a startup, and I think it's to limit their liability, but also have the domain locked in so that if they do go well, they can then pull the option and buy the domain name. So you owe $250,000. So I'm not sure what happened in an interim here, but then the owner passed away. The owner passed away. So now you can't contact anyone. Who do you contact? And it's interesting because this is happening with a domain name I'm trying to get. Domain name is worth maybe $2,000. So it's not worth the journey that happened with this domain. Some brokers reached out to the owner. The relatives said, hey, you should really register it. I'm sorry, backtrack. So then he notices that it came up on a domain auction, backorder auction. Okay, so it was going to expire. And so he's like, okay, I got my opportunity. And so he's getting ready. He's bidding. And then it comes off because they renew the domain name. Now, think about this, okay? Think about this journey that they had. It's off the market forever. Now it's back off. So his opportunity to control his brand online, to control the positioning for Carrot, to control the simplicity, the effortlessness that brings to him. Now, what happened is that the owner, the relatives, they renewed it, and then he worked with the brokers to actually buy it. And one of the comments he made in this interview, he said, I really wish I would have gotten with the broker much earlier. I would have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we would have built our brand on strength. In this instance, I mean, he was extremely lucky that he was able to acquire his domain name, because the off the market forever is very real. It's very, very real. So several lessons for this, right? Several lessons for the marketers that are listening to me, and that is that this is a lucky case. I'm going to backtrack one little second here. And that is the other impact that a domain has to conversion. So I talked about cover.com this last week. You can check it on my YouTube. You can check it out on my LinkedIn feed. You can check it out in numerous other spots in my content. But cover.com, they saw this immediate impact to their conversion because there was this trust. They saw them in the app. They came back. They trusted them. I talk about ring.com. They went and they bought their domain for $1 million, ended up selling it for $1 billion to Amazon. We talked about teamwork.com, who bought their domain for $650,000 and then saw this hockey stick-like growth. Phenomenal story, another great story. So it has a very real and tangible impact to your brand. It's not just, hey, I need it because of email. I need it because of branding. I need it because it's going to increase conversion. It's going to build trust and loyalty. And it's going to this thing we call brand equity. A lot of lessons you can take from the story. I'm super happy for them that they got carrot.com. Video is pretty cool. Check it out. Check out their video. Check out their company. I like their company. Love their brand. Love the domain name. Well, I'd love to own that domain name. I love the colors of a carrot, right? The colors of a carrot are just great colors. The brown and the orange. Just love that color combination. So all in all, great story. It's not just the $600,000 that is great for the assets, and another great just getting the message out there that domains they are strategic assets for your brand. They do have value, and you do need to invest. It's an investment. It's not expense. It's an investment. Yes, it costs money, but it's a foundational aspect to your brand. But also just the journey that he went through, and the journey that the success that he achieved, where it could have been off the market forever. So anyways, hey, if you need help acquiring a domain name, finding a domain name, reach out to me, chris@mediaoptions.com. Check us out at mediaoptions.com. Check out my page, chriszuiker.com. Check out my podcast. I do live every day over at that website. And let me know how I can help. And if you found any value in the story, share it up.